Hello, I'm Lisa Honig-Buchsbaum, CEO and founder of Soaring Words. Welcome to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and a very special Soaring Words, Soaring Museums tour experience. The Met is one of the largest tourist destinations in New York City, with over 5 million visitors each year. Today we're traveling back to ancient Egypt to explore the reign of Hatshepsut, one of the most interesting pharaohs of all times. Hatshepsut
I've always been fascinated by how science works. You have to use science to construct things like physics. Hello, I'm Tobias and I'm 9 years old.
I'm Aileen Chuk. I'm the Chief Registrar here at the Metropolitan Museum.
What does a register mean?
We're in charge of all the art that comes in or out of the building.
How do you fit all the artwork through the doorways that are only
Sometimes it's really, really difficult.
How did they fit this in here? Would they take apart this building and then build it up again?
That's exactly what they did, actually. You can see that the building is made out of blocks of stone. And before we moved it, each block of stone was numbered. And so all we had to do was take it apart and put it back together again.
So it's 1, 2, 3, they took that apart and then they put 1, 2, 3 back in order again?
True. At least this breaks down into a lot of small parts.
You're lucky with that.
I know.
But what about huge paintings that are
exactly right? And how about that big Egyptian sculpture that's in the Great Hall? He's 10 tons.
Whoa.
He just came in the museum 2 years ago.
Really?
Yes, he came from Berlin.
Awesome.
We brought it in at 6 o'clock in the morning.
And you probably ended around 8 o'clock at night.
We ended at midnight. Because you've learned a little bit about physics, right?
Yeah,
so
a little bit,
we have to worry about the floors.
You don't want
in
to crack
the museum.
the floors.
Because you have to worry about floor loads. You know what floor loads are?
There's weak spots.
Exactly. So in order to move it, we had to spread the weight of that sculpture.
You had to cut in half?
Well, what we did was we moved it a couple of inches at a time. We put down wood, and then we put down steel plates. And we had to wrap him up, put straps on him, and then we had to stand him up. We did all of that in one day, on a Monday when the museum was closed.
That's smart.
See, now the museum's open 7 days a week. So I guess he has to stay there for quite a while.
Yeah. If there's a small piece that's hanging off, gravity will pull down at that piece and the entire building will go timber.
That's an excellent explanation. Thank you, Tobias.
Welcome. My name is Siren and I'm 9 years old. She's the goddess of wisdom and I like smart people. She's also the goddess of weaving. That's something that I really like and it's pretty cool. Athena's the goddess of strategy and war too, but she's not as violent as Ares, so that's why I like her better than him. Basically, Athena's a pretty cool goddess. I like Poseidon because he's the god of the seas and he has different personalities on different days, like the waves. I like that he can control the water and the oceans. Artemis, I like that she's strong and that she can do archery because I really want to take archery. I'm already taking karate, but I want to take archery. I can tell you a few things about Zeus. He can get mad really easily. He likes throwing around lightning bolts. He likes rules, but he breaks them a lot. I think that would be very cool to see like some statues or paintings of those gods.
Super!
Hi, I'm Ashwin and I'm 11 years old. I am here with Isabel. She's a curator at the Met. And I'm going to ask her a few questions. I really like the Met collection. It's one of the best collections in the world. And this is basically where I can enjoy my passion of ancient Egypt. Can we discuss the mummification process?
Sure. So mummification is a process to preserve the body. They first clean the body, and then they actually cut the body open to take out the internal organs.
They mummified the major internal organs separately, placed them in little jars,
Called the canopic jars.
and they were each guarded by a figure on the top of the pot.
And they were the protective deities for these organs. So that was the stomach. What else was it? Intestines,
The lungs, and the liver.
Yes. The heart often they left in place. And then the brain, the ancient Egyptians did actually not know that the brain was so important.
They took out the brain in the grossest way ever. They took the stick, they slid it up your nose, and then they twirled the stick around inside your head so that all the brain got mashed up and into almost a liquid. And then piece by piece, they sort of took the goo out, it sort of slid out of your nose.
That's what they did because they didn't know it was so important.
Then they let the body dry in salts.
And then they wrapped the body in lots of linen.
They sometimes put in religious amulets as they wrapped the body. Then they put on like a mask.
Mummification was a way to transform the body, but also to transform the deceased into this other being that was then supposed to live on.
The Egyptians really valued the afterlife because it was the life that lasted forever. I'm Asher and I'm here at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. If I could pick one food to bring to the afterlife, I would pick blueberries, 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 blueberries.
Hi, I'm Charlotte and I'm 11 years old. I'm here interviewing Ian, a curator here at the Met.
Hi, I'm Ian Altavere. I'm an associate curator here in the Department of Modern and Contemporary Art at the Met.
We're here in front of Jackson Pollock's Autumn Rhythm, number 30.
I heard that this is your favorite painting in the museum, is that right?
Yeah. I like that I get to decide what it is to me. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be something sad or something really happy. I think he painted it on the ground.
Yeah, he totally painted it on the ground.
It's really cool.
Jackson Pollock would take huge pieces of canvas. This is one of the largest he made. And he would put it on the floor of his little barn. And he would take cans of house paint, like what you would use to paint the side of a building. And he would take sticks or twigs or whatever he could get. And he would dip it into the can. And then he would slowly, very carefully, drip onto the surface.
You didn't touch the brush on the canvas the entire time.
That's right. But there are things like cigarette butts and other pieces of garbage that ended up on the painting. That's what happens when you paint on the floor, right? It collects all of this kind of history of what's happening when the artist is making the work.
I see white, black, tan, and teal. And then I see a lighter tan than the paint is the canvas.
He would lay down first a layer of black, and that kind of skeleton structure holds the picture together. And then he would add on top of that these other layers of other colors.
A lot of people stand in front of this painting and say, this looks so easy, I could do this. But it isn't actually that easy. It's very precise, sort of. It's just letting out his feelings in painting. I like to draw a lot, and sometimes I put my emotions into the things I draw.
When I look at this painting, one of the first things that comes to mind is all of this paint. But all of this paint super carefully laid down in a kind of wild but beautiful mess.
This is Charlotte reporting from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. When I look at this painting, I just think that it's really
I'm Sasha. I'm 10 years old and I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm here in the musical instruments galleries with Jason.
My name is Jason Dobney and I am an associate curator here in the Department of Musical Instruments.
I love music and I play flute, piano, and guitar. I love it that the museum has a whole musical instruments department. Today let's take a look at the piano. The word piano was originally pianoforte, which means soft and loud in Italian. And that is because the piano can play soft and loud sounds. This is the oldest piano in the world, invented by Bartolomeo Cristofori in 1720.
That's right, and it was invented in Florence, Italy. So he invented the instrument and then made a bunch of them. This is just the one that survives.
What does it sound like?
What does it sound like? Well, let's find out.
Wow. What's the story behind the piano? Did Cristofori want to make a new instrument?
Well, as we said, the piano plays soft and loud, and Cristofori wanted a keyboard instrument that could play soft and loud to accompany singers and to accompany violinists. So he was not trying to invent a new instrument. He was trying to invent a harpsichord that could play soft and loud. But the result was he invented the piano and it changed music history.
I like playing the piano because you can play so many songs on it. It's like you can play anything. This is Sasha reporting from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Take note, Met Kids. Tom Campbell is the director of the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Hi, I'm Tom Campbell. I'm the director of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I'm here to answer a few questions from our Met kids.
We have a lot of questions for Tom.
They've got a lot of questions.
Did you always want to be the director of the museum?
When I started off, I didn't plan on being a director. I love being a curator. And when you're a curator, you get to study the works of art. I used to study something called tapestries, which are great big woven pictures. And I was really happy doing that. But when they asked me to be director, I thought it was pretty cool.
What is the hardest or most important part of your job as the director?
I think the most important thing I do is help people do their jobs. We've got 2,200 people who work here, from the curators and the conservators to the people who guard the galleries, people who cook food in the restaurants. There are so many people, and every single one of them is part of making this museum successful.
I'm curious, have you ever slept over at the museum?
I've never slept over. I kind of would love to, though. You know, there's some of our historic period rooms, they've got huge beds in them. And there are some days when I feel really kind of tired. I think it'd be really nice just to lie down in one of those beds and fall asleep.
Are there any interesting secrets about the museum?
But if I told you, then it wouldn't be a secret. I'd say every single object has its own secrets. And when you get to study them, when you get to live with them, when you get to really look at them, that's when you find the secrets.
Do you ever get lost in the museum?
Well, funnily enough, coming over here to talk to you guys, I got lost because I couldn't remember which floor I was going to. There's a whole bunch of passageways and corridors. I took the wrong turning, which is why I was late. Do you guys consider yourselves artists?
I love sculpting.
I like to make pottery.
I like to express myself in art with structures and building in general.
I like to draw landscapes.
I'd like to draw stick figures because there's a lot you can do with stick figures since they're so simple.
Do you have any favorite works of art or favorite department?
For me, one of the really interesting things about my job is that every day I get to look at different kinds of art, very often art that I didn't know about before. So I'm always learning, and that's really interesting, just as you guys are when you come here. Thanks, guys. Thank you all very much.
He's actually quite nice and funny.
Now I have to see if I can get back to my office without getting lost again.